My name is Randy Howell, and you're listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast.
Welcome to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
And I'm Robert. In every episode, we're bringing you faith stories and fishing memories from some amazing members of the fishing community.
So join us as we shed a positive light on all things faith and fishing. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
Hey, and I'm Robert.
And you may hear some sounds from the road this episode. Robert is traveling. We are decked out in Cashion gear, and we are in for a fantastic episode. Robert, how are you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Had to make a quick trip to the beach, so I'm riding back. So hopefully, we'll stay. We'll stay good.
And I believe that Robert is saying that hopefully his connection will stay good. And the irony is that is not appearing to happen. So Robert is frozen at the moment, but he will be back shortly. But yeah, so we have had a very interesting past little while. I apologize that we did not get an episode out last week. We had this episode was supposed to happen, and family stuff said nuh-uh. And then we had another episode that was supposed to happen, and medical stuff said nuh-uh. And then we had another reschedule of that episode that laziness said nuh-uh. So we apologize, but we're excited to be back. Robert, I'm gonna see if you got enough signal to answer a question. Did you get any fishing done since our last episode?
I think I went to Cape Fear twice. Did pretty good the first time. Last time it was really nice scenery, and that was about it. So got a tournament coming up this weekend, so hopefully we'll be able to find some fish this weekend. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. It looks like an awesome fishery. I will not be able to do that. I will be traveling. Speaking of which, either Robert is going to have to put something together for next episode, or there will not be an episode next week. So y'all bear with us. But yeah, I did get to do a little bit of fishing Sunday night. I went out at sunset and caught a couple. The first bite I had, it was a fish that was so small it couldn't get the chatterbait into its mouth enough, or Mr. B bladed jig, I should say. It couldn't get it into its mouth enough to get the hook. It was such a little fish, so it jumped and threw the bait. And then I caught one little tiny dink on a shaky head, and then on my last cast, right next to the boat ramp, I laid into a much bigger fish, and at first I thought it was a catfish because it was the way it was nosing down onto the bait. Its tail was hitting the line, and it felt like a catfish. Whenever a catfish gets wrapped up in the line, that's what it felt like. But it ended up being a nice largemouth, just over 6 pounds. And I'm going to have to go back and really study pictures from my PB because I am convinced that it is the same fish that I caught in February that was right at 7 pounds. So I'm going to have to go back and really study that and see it, because it really looks like it might be the same one, which that is interesting. I mean, it's not a huge lake, and I mean, I think it might be 250 yards from where I caught the other one. So, I was great. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it would be interesting if that's the same one.
Yeah, absolutely. And it it was right there in front of a couple on the picnic table, just kind of watching with their mouth open. Um, our guest tonight will be happy to know that that both fish that I caught came on the rod that I just switched out from Cashion for warranty. So it works. It does what it's supposed to. Um, yeah, got it on that shaky head rod, um, and just on a trick worm on a shaky head. You know, that dog day of summer favorite, and
We're
it
slowly
produced.
we're slowly converting you over to a finesse fisherman.
I'll say this: I've always been a little bit of a finesse fisherman from the bank. It's just whenever I get in a kayak that I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. But I mean, they were not biting anything else. Um, So there was that one that might have been 6 inches that bit that bladed jig, but every other every other interest that I got was on the shaky head. Um, I will say I don't think they make the color anymore, but it's my favorite trick worm color, the gooseberry. If y'all can find that, gobble them up. It's like it's like a it's black with this. I don't know what to call it. It's like almost a metallic purple on it. It's
Huh.
a it's a fantastic murky and muddy watercolor for the trick worm. So, but yeah, um, we are still running that giveaway on the last episode. So y'all make sure you go and comment on those um, on that one, because so far the only comments I have are from a sponsor, from you, Robert, and from the guest. So those are the only stickers I'm sending out, um, and I think you and sponsor should be exempt from the giveaway. So we'll see what happens. But y'all make sure you go listen to that episode. Go comment on those announcements from a couple weeks ago. But yeah, that's enough of this this intro. Let's dive into the meat of this episode and get our guest introduced.
Sounds good.
Few things ruin your day on the water as bad as losing gear. But with the retrieval devices for fishing rods, action cams, bow fishing bows, and more from Save Your Outdoors, you don't have to let dropping your stuff ruin your day because you can get it back. The pressure-sensitive filter keeps water from rain and quick dips in the water out, but it lets water in when your gear goes overboard to release a float attached to your gear by 60 feet of line so you can get it back. Go to SaveYourOutdoors.com to learn more and try some for yourself, and use promo code FNFP15 to save 15% on your order. That's SaveYourOutdoors.com and promo code FNFP15.
A huge selection and crazy fast shipping is already enough to turn heads as an online tackle shop, but Omnia Fishing sets themselves apart with their ambassador program. With Omnia, you can send in fishing reports for your local lakes that recommend baits, structure, tactics, and gear. And when another angler takes your advice and purchases something from your report, you get credit for it to spend at Omnia. The best part means that with Omnia Fishing, you can shop by lake and purchase baits and gear that are proven to work where you're fishing. To get started, go to omniafishing.com and use promo code FNF15 to save 15% on your first order.
All right, so this episode, we are going to be joined by the marketing lead from Cashion Rods. I met her whenever we did the master class for inshore fishing, and she came up to me and she said that you look so familiar, and I was like, yeah, you do too. And it took us a little bit, but we realized we're both on the Carolina Waters pro staff, and that was where we recognized each other from. And I think this is the first time that we have had a spouse of a former guest on. So that is also pretty exciting. So we are welcoming Chelsea Shandrick, and I should have asked, do you prefer Chelsea Shandrick or Chelsea Wolf Shandrick?
No, Chelsea Shandrick is fine.
Okay. So Chelsea, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I don't know if she is trying to say more. She froze up on us. We are experiencing all kinds of fun technical difficulties tonight, so y'all bear with us. But yeah, one of the at this time the best performing episode of this season so far was with Chelsea's husband, Pete Shandrick. He had a phenomenal story, and really what I always forget to tell guests is what really makes a difference as to how good your episode performs is how much you promote it. And he did a phenomenal job of promoting it, and so did you, Chelsea. So we thank you for that. But
Absolutely.
to get us started, kind of introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us who Chelsea Shandrick is.
Sure. My name is Chelsea. Was born and raised in southwestern Pennsylvania, where I grew up fishing small streams in the backwoods with my dad and my sister. Recently moved to North Carolina about 4 years ago. My husband's company brought us down to North Carolina, and I followed. And here is where I started to get familiar with Cashion Rods as a customer. And then I started working for them. And so my passion became a career.
Absolutely. Sorry, I had to be quicker on the mute button there, and I was not. Yeah. So you are the marketing lead at Cashion. Kind of tell us what that involves, and how did you go from being the office administrator to marketing lead? How did that happen?
Yeah, so funny story. I mean, when I started with Cashion, I was the office manager, and that meant wearing a lot of different hats. And one of those hats included helping out with marketing. So time had passed, and I accepted the role of the marketing lead, where I help with running Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, like all the social media channels, helping with the advertising, Google ads, Google My Business, and basic outreach. And I still help with a little bit of everything else, but it's more marketing focused now. I also help with the event planning, which is one thing that I guess we're going to talk about during our time together.
Absolutely. And we can go ahead and dive right into that. I know Robert went to the last Kayak Fishing Master Class that y'all had. I went to the inshore master class that you had. So what is coming up that we need to be talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So the second annual Cashion Kayak Master Class is coming up on September 30th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be from 12 to 3. We're going to provide a meal, facility tours, and of course, instruction from 3 of our pro anglers, Casey Reed, Jody Queen, and Corey Dreyer. We're going to have a ton of huge giveaways with some companies we're partnering with, like Z-Man, Dakota Lithium, Yak Attack, One Cast. So it's going to be a really big day. And a lot of those folks are going to be there representing their companies as well. So you can talk to the different representatives that will be there from those companies, and as well as Cashion, obviously. So yeah, highly recommend it. Even if you're not a kayak angler, the education that you're going to get from those guys, you can't put a price on it. They're so knowledgeable. So whether you're fishing from a bank, from a boat, or obviously a kayak, I highly recommend the day. It's just a great experience, a great event, and it's going to be at a wonderful facility. You get to take a tour of Cashion, see where the rods are made, get to meet some of the team members, and enjoy some fellowship along the way.
Yeah, that is I will second that. I went to it last year, and I was really already sold on Cashion Rods. I just like the way that they feel. I like that it's a local company. But then after doing the tour and seeing um, really the employees and Cashion owners interact with each other, and just seeing the vibe and Cashion rods even more. Um, and not mention that they are dropping notification that you won't find anywhere else. All three of those guys are very knowledgeable, and to have them in the same place at the same time where you can ask them one-on-one questions is awesome. So,
I think you're
All right.
muted.
All right. Yeah. So Robert broke up a lot there, and I was trying my best to let y'all know that he was breaking up a lot, and that really he was just y'all have heard his take on that before, but he was breaking up, and I was muted because we've got uh, we've got World War a toddler sleep happening the past 2 weeks, and it has been a struggle and a half. But we are trying to make it through it. But yeah, and I will say I'm going to piggyback on what little we could understand of Robert just then. I'm going to piggyback on that and just say, um, even in terms of like he said. The information that you get from being able to talk to these guys like Jody Queen and Casey Reed, Corey Dreyer, and pick their brains. But even more so, I would say, um, like just the being able to take that tour, that factory tour, is I mean, I was absolutely blown away. And I don't know if anybody that's listening is a fan of the first few seasons of the Big Bang Theory. But whenever they went to the comic book shop, and he said the comic book owner told the guy that the new Hellboy is going to blow your mind, and he said, "Don't tell me that. Now I'm going in pre-blown." Well, I was going in, and he said, "The new such and such is going to blow your socks off. Good luck getting putting them back on." Well, I was going in with my socks already off, and I still ended up with my socks blown off. But yeah, it's definitely something that you want to check out if you're local or close enough to make the drive or whatever. I'll let Chelsea talk more about pricing and stuff, but I mean it's only $40. I mean, and that gets you a phenomenal meal, and I mean the for the inshore one, I mean, those seminars, I was late and I still got enough information out of it to very much make it worth it for me. So, but yeah, I'll let Chelsea talk more about what all you get from that $40 and and all that good stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. So with that ticket, you just go to cashionrods.com. There's going to be a pop-up that shows up on the web page as soon as you get there, and you click into the pop-up, and it'll take you right to that info page for the event, for the Kayak Master Class. But yeah, you're getting education from those three pros. You're getting a lunch, your facility tour, access to maybe some special showroom sales. Not sure. Maybe drop in some hints. And you'll also obviously get that one-on-one time with the anglers, which is super. I remember picking Jody's brain about reading the water, just little nuggets of information that you get from that. And of course, access to the giveaways with the partners that we've partnered up with. I think you're muted again.
I am muted again. Oh man. And I'm sorry, I'm not used to having to mute myself. Um, and are you doing it again where if you buy a rod that gives you an extra entry to the giveaway, like you did at the inshore?
Oh no, we might have to do that.
I will
To
say
be
that
determined.
I ended up passing up the extra entries
Yeah, yeah.
that I ended up winning, but someone who definitely wants to hang on to them, it could end up benefiting you.
No doubt, no doubt.
All right, so Chelsea, let's dive into kind of your fishing background as well. So, uh, what was it that got you into fishing? Who was it that got you into fishing, and how did that transition into the passion that you have now?
Sure. So it's all kudos to my dad. My dad wanted boys, all boys, and he got all girls. He got 3 girls, and he taught us all how to hunt and fish. And I think that he was pretty darn proud of those 3 girls. So I have very vivid memories of fishing the banks of um, different streams in Pennsylvania, northern, well, on the western side of the state, northern. Uh, we have a camp up there, and have a lot of fond memories of bank fishing with my dad. With the Barbie pole, casting in, hoping that you catch a trout. But then it kind of developed from there. I would go with him all the time, and then there would be times where he'd send me in the woods by myself. Hey, go have fun, go do your thing, be back before it gets dark. And that just grew my love for the outdoors, learning how to fly fish. And then, like, I never really got into bass fishing until I met Pete. Every day when I would come home from work, he'd come home from work. We have a little lake behind our home in Pennsylvania, and we would get in the rowboat and go fishing. And he taught me how to bass fish, and he was the one who taught me how to throw my first bait caster. I was really just intrigued by it. I was never interested in bass fishing growing up because I was just so focused on trout fishing and stream fishing. I always thought bass fishing was nerdy. I, I always noticed the guys go into the lake with, their huge bag of soft plastics and all this stuff and their multiple rods, and I just did not understand it. And there I was with my little ultralight trout rod and some
That is
worms and a
awesome.
rooster tail. So I just didn't understand it. But it's funny, I always thought it was nerdy, but here I am. It has quickly become my favorite type of fishing.
I think the fact that it's nerdy is why I like it so much, actually. It fits me.
Love it.
Yeah, so you grow up with the ultralight, you end up meeting Pete, and he gets you into bass fishing. Um, what was it that got you started out of a kayak?
Honestly, like we have our boat together, but I wanted to be independent, and I wanted to get into places that we couldn't necessarily get from the boat. So that kind of grew my interest in the whole kayak angling side of things. So, like everything I do, I researched and I read and I watched YouTube videos and just completely flooded my brain with all things kayak fishing. For probably the first 2 years I was down here, did a lot of research and thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I saved up and got myself um, the Hobie PA 14. And yeah, I've just signed up to be in my first online tournament to get my feet wet and kind of figure it out, because it is a lot different than tournament fishing from a boat. So getting used to that. And yeah, hoping to get some more tips and tricks from the master class selfishly.
Absolutely. I mean, there are not many. There are not many guys out there that you could learn more from in terms of kayak fishing than those three.
Yeah, no
Um,
kidding.
I mean, those guys are some of the best in the business for sure. So sorry, I have been completely thrown off my game because of Henry's tantrum, but and you would think I would be used to it, and maybe I would be more used to it if I had, you know, a much more balanced work to sleep ratio in the past 36 hours, or even 24 hours, but even then, maybe not. But anyways, let's dive into the faith side of things as well.
Yeah.
So, um, kind of give us an idea of what it is that you believe in and how you came to believe that. What's your faith story?
Okay. Excellent. So, I mean, as a child, I grew up in the Catholic Church. My mom took me every Sunday, and that's where I got my roots. And then at the age of 11, I remember asking my mom, Mom, why don't we read more from the Bible? Uh, is there a place where we could go that I could read the Bible more? And she explained to me that my aunt and uncle and my cousins go to a church where they study from the Bible, and they have Wednesday night prayer meetings and Bible studies, etc. And she explained it was a Baptist church. And I said, "Well, can I go there?" She said, "Absolutely." So I started going to a Baptist church with my aunt, uncle, and cousins, and absolutely loved it. Loved reading from the Word and learning about Jesus and salvation and obedience. Um, I took a profession of faith and got baptized. Obviously, when you're in a Catholic faith, you're baptized as a baby. They believe that baptism is the forgiveness of sins at an infant's age. But as I grew up and I learned the true meaning behind baptism, um, I took that dedication of faith and got baptized when I started in with the Baptist church. And I mean, the rest is history. I believe in God. I believe that He sent His Son for our salvation and our forgiveness of sins. And yeah.
Awesome. I love having people on who grew up in it as well as the people who did not, and just kind of get an idea of how those different stories differ, because I was one who grew up completely immersed in it as well. My grandpa was
Mhm.
a Methodist pastor, and my mom and dad were very involved in the church, and we spent more time during the summertime. We spent more time at the church than I did at the house most weeks. And so, and then like I love like hearing the people who grew up like that, and what kind of differences there are in the story. And one of the things I love about it is how they all end up in the same place. Um, and so that's awesome to me. So um, so yeah, we have a couple questions that we always ask every guest. And so I wanted to make sure we ask that to you as well. Um, what fishing story or memory means the most to you?
Well, I have so many that mean a lot to me. Um, I'll say, can I do my top three?
Sure, go for the top three.
Okay, my top 3. So, number 3 would be catching my first bass with Pete on the lake behind our house in Pennsylvania. Well, I shouldn't say first bass, but first large, bigger than average bass out of the lake. Um, I thought I was hung up on a log, and I remember setting the hook on the log and looking over at him saying, I think I'm snagged, I'm hooked up on a log. And he saw the rod tip move and he knew it was it wasn't hung up. And that's when I reeled in my first bigger than average bass. So that was number 3. Number
And
2
how
would
big was
be,
that one?
oh, it was probably only, Pete, how big would you say it was? Like 3 pounds, if that. It was like 3 pounds. But it was big for that lake and I was super proud of it. And I was just glad that I didn't catch a tree. And then my second memory would be um, fishing the Platte River with Pete and my brother-in-law Jim. We were fly fishing for brown trout and rainbow trout, and catching my first Wyoming brown trout on a fly, stripping streamers off the bank from a drift boat. And then my number 1 memory would be, of course, fishing with my dad at our camp in Cameron County and just being there for opening day of trout. Me, him, my little sister, on the bank in the woods, just the 3 of us, super quiet and just pulling in trout after trout after trout. I just will always remember days like that.
Absolutely. It sounds like an awesome county. Just going off a name alone, that's the only thing I've got to go off of. Um, but so I didn't realize that you kind of had a background in fly fishing. Um, so I want to know, what was the transition like going from fly fishing to bass fishing? You made the comment that bass fishing was nerdy. And you came from fly fishing. So I'm really curious to see how.
Yeah, you caught me. So I will say I'm not the typical fly fisherman where like I'm fully immersed in it. I know how to do it. I enjoy doing it. My transition from fly fishing to bass fishing, um, I I think it's got differences but similarities at the same time. Um, but really transitioning over to bass fishing, learning how to use a bait caster, because it was completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
But you still sort of read the water in the same way. You pay attention to the weather, the wind, the temperature, you name it. You're still paying attention to all those key things, but the gear is so different in how you use it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you still fly fish some?
Occasionally, yes.
Have you dabbled into fly fishing for bass yet?
No, but I want to. As a matter of fact, we were down on the river here a couple of weeks ago, and we saw a couple fly fishing for bass on the river, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to do it. I think I'm going to do that.
Absolutely. I have not dabbled into fly fishing yet. I read a lot about fly fishing because um, I have found that bass fishermen and other fishermen tend not to write a lot, but fly fishermen do. Um, so I
Nice.
love to read, and I love to read, memoirs and essays on fishing, and fly fishermen write probably 95% of all fishing books. And then for I would say 4 out of those 5% are saltwater fishing. And then you have like 1% of all fishing books are bass fishing. And then probably, 60, 70% of those books are the how-to books, not the like memoirs and essays that
That's
I
right.
enjoy. So
You work in a bookstore, don't you?
I used to, yeah.
Okay.
Before I got nabbed by the property that that the bookstore is on. So I still get to see the bookstore a lot, and I still visit a lot, but I'm not working for them anymore. But yeah, I was there for 4.5 years, and I have fallen in love with a lot of really, really good writers. And like I said, so many of them are fly fishermen. Um, and I will say some of them, Thomas McGuane, he is a phenomenal writer, but I can't stand reading him because it's so pretentious.
I was just gonna say he's probably a little pretentious.
I mean, I mean, I gave up 3 paragraphs in because I was 3 paragraphs in and spent more time in the thesaurus than I did in the book he wrote. So, he's very proud of his vocabulary and he likes to
Oh
show it
yeah,
off.
he likes to flash it.
But yeah, I was just wondering about that because I do know a little bit about fly fishing just because it's the majority of what I get to read, but it's it's still something I haven't dabbled in it yet because it's kind of like opening Pandora's box. I know if I don't need anything else that I'm going to spend a lot of money on. And I don't need another obsession that I don't have time for.
That's right.
So definitely something that I want to try at some point, but I'm nervous about, like I said, opening Pandora's box and the same reason that I'm nervous about trying pedal drive kayaks. I don't have a way to get it from point A to point B, so I don't want to try it because I don't want to fall in love with it.
I
So
get
I
it.
so I make everybody believe that it's really just like I'm too uppity to try anything other than paddling.
Well, you definitely have to try out fly fishing, even if you don't go crazy with it, you at least have to try it. To me, I feel most grounded and closer with God when I am on the water, in the water, fly fishing. It's so relaxing. It's just, you have to try it. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I, I really want to try it saltwater fishing. Um, I I've read so much about tarpon on the fly that I'm just like
Oh, yeah.
I I know that I probably don't have it in me to do it, but man, I want to. I'm not going to land the fish. I just want to feel what it feels like for just
That's
the second that before it gets off.
Yeah. I mean, a goal of mine is to get practice up with my casting, get really good at casting, and go chase after false albacore on fly. I think that
Oh,
would
that would be
just be
so
so
fun.
much fun.
That would be so fun.
Mm.
Robert, I have monopolized this interview so far. Did you have anything you wanted to add or ask?
Um, well, I don't know how much of what I said before actually came through. Maybe I'm in a better spot now. Did
Well,
any of
so
that
far,
I was talking about, the master class, come through, or was it all frozen?
there was not much that came through.
Okay, well, I'm just going to hit that again before I get to another spot that's really bad.
All right.
I went to last year's master class, and if you can get to this, you need to go to it. I was already a huge fan of Cashion Rods, but to see the whole facility, to see the way the employees interacted with each other, and Matthew, the owner, it's just a class act all the way around. And you're not going to find three better anglers. I don't care if it's from a boat, a kayak, the bank, than the three anglers that'll be there. And to be able to get some one-on-one time and ask those guys questions, you're just you're not gonna find anything. So, really, that's all I wanted to throw out there before I start freezing back up again. So,
And now he's frozen again. Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with that. But yeah, so Chelsea, the second question that we always ask every single guest, what whenever you're out fishing with somebody, what are you typically talking about? What's your typical conversation like?
This might be weird, but my typical conversation when I'm out fishing with someone is silence. I am focused. I am taking everything in, and I'm just trying to clear my mind, because honestly, the only time that my mind stops running in a million different directions is when I'm on the water. So my conversations are very limited. Unless I'm with someone who needs a little bit of hyping up, then I will be there to boost your spirits and get you going.
Good to know. I'll be the first to tell you I'm not a hype guy. If you need a hype guy, I'm not that guy for you. Um, but I am also someone who I am very introverted, and I tend to be more quiet. I mean, you get me started, and I'll start going like I just did on fly fishing books out of nowhere. But at the same time, like I used to, like, growing up, my dad used to introduce me to people, say, "This is my son Cameron. He doesn't talk to people." So I I
And
can,
now look at you have a podcast.
yeah. I mean, I I I don't mind talking to people. I struggle with the small talk most of the time. You get me talking about a specific subject, and I can typically go for a while, but it's the small talk, and like, and getting from like introduction to getting to somewhere where we have enough in common to actually talk. That's the part I struggle with. But the relationships that I do build end up being really really good relationships. But um, yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's thank a couple ads, or thank a couple sponsors, and then we are going to dive into what's your favorite that we do with every guest. So it's
Awesome.
self-explanatory. We'll ask you your favorite in a few different categories, and we'll get that started right after this.
Okay.
Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle is one of the largest canoe, kayak, and cycling retailers in the Southeast, with a huge selection of kayaks, canoes, bikes, and all the accessories needed to experience paddling and cycling comfortably and safely. Get Outdoors helps to expand and educate the paddling community through their free demos held on local lakes in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, and through in-store clinics and on-the-water courses and demos. And we'll even get your new boat rigged up for kayak fishing for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or check out shopgetoutdoors.com to be wowed by their selection.
If a fly rod is your weapon of choice, check out Atollas. Their Fly Caddy is the most convenient way to get your favorite flies to the water, or just keep them handy by clipping it to your hat, truck visor, backpack, rod case, or just whatever. You can also bundle it up with flies from independent fly tires that Atollas has teamed up with through their Fly Light project. Choose from bundles specializing in redfish, carp, saltwater, or freshwater. Head over to atollas.co, that's ATOLLAS.co, to get your Fly Caddy today, and use promo code FAITHINFISH15 to save 15% on your order. That's faith, the letter N, fish, the number 15 at checkout for 15% off. All right, so Robert, give me a thumbs up if you think that we can alternate on this. Give me a thumbs down if you need me to. All right, so Robert will chime in as he can, but I will be asking the questions. So, Chelsea, let's start out with, what is your favorite scripture?
Okay. It's favorite scripture. Um, it's always hard to narrow it down, something like that. Um, but I always think about Matthew 6:26. Uh, Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more valuable than they? The reason I love that so much and that I think about it often is I worry. I'm a worrier. And this verse keeps me grounded, and it reminds me, like, all right, if he takes care of the birds in the sky, he's going to take care of me, a child of God. And I like using that verse to send that message to a friend or family member who might be in a similar boat or situation where they're worrying or distracted by something, it's out of our control, and as it should be. Don't worry. He takes care of the birds in the air. He'll take care of you and I.
Absolutely. That is awesome. And what about your favorite story from the Bible? Is there one of those that's your favorite?
Um, I like David and Goliath, but the one that really resonates with me would be Matthew 18, the lost sheep, the parable of the lost sheep. And the reason why that one is probably my favorite is because it applies to everyone, no matter where you are in your faith journey. If you grew up immersed, like you and I, immersed in faith, immersed in the church, and you've fallen away from your faith, or if you're just coming into your faith, it doesn't matter where you are. Each and every one of us are so important to Jesus that he will go up to the mountains. He will chase us down. When we are lost, he will come and he will find us. He will leave the 99 to seek the one, and the rejoicing that happens over that one. It's really moving. And it's a reminder that no matter what, he's going to come find you, and he'll do it for you. And like, what if one of his avenues that God brings his people back to him that have gone astray, what if he's using you? What if he's using me as one of those avenues to reach that one? There's just a lot to unpack there, and I love that story, leaving the 99 to seek the one.
Absolutely. All right. What is your favorite fish to catch?
Probably a smallmouth bass.
Smallmouth bass.
Yes.
One day I'm going to catch one and I'll see what the hype is all about.
Oh my gosh, you have to. They
It's
fight
not for
like
lack of
crazy. It's
trying,
super
but
fun.
all right. So, smallmouth bass. What is your favorite fish to fish for? So, your favorite to target?
Hmm, probably largemouth, just because I learn something new every time I go to do it. It's always
Absolutely.
different, ever changing, always learning something new.
For sure. For sure. All right. And so, your favorite fish to eat?
Walleye,
Walleye. See,
walleye.
that's one of the things about living in the South. Like I grew up, or I not grew up, but I spent most of my life near the coast of North Carolina. So like I have had all different kinds of
Oh, well, we
saltwater
could,
fish
if
and
we're talking about
uh,
coastal fish, dolphin, like mahi, definitely.
for sure, for sure.
Oh, so
Um,
good.
but everyone that I've had on the podcast that is from anywhere close to the Great Lakes, it's walleye, 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 walleye. And I'm like, man,
Oh,
I've
okay.
got to try walleye whenever I get up there to and so I would love to give that a shot at some point. Just to see how it compares to the like the freshwater fish that I grew up eating, like the shell cracker and the crappie and
Oh,
bluegill
yeah.
and all that. So, I mean, there is absolutely nothing wrong with a crappie sandwich or shell cracker or anything like that. My mom used to do shell cracker and
Oh,
shake and
gosh,
bake,
not at all.
and it
There
was
you go.
it was great.
We used, what the heck did we use? Shore lunch. It's kind of like shake and bake, but that was always our go-to. Same idea.
Absolutely. All right. So now that we're hungry, what is your favorite fishing snack?
All of them. ask ask anyone. I always bring a lunchbox full of snacks. This is gonna sound so funny. And everybody who knows me will laugh when they hear me say this. I love pickled quail eggs.
Pickled quail
That's probably my
eggs.
favorite boat snack.
Okay, I have so many questions. And I'm trying to figure out where I want to start with these questions. So do you throw a couple in a Ziploc bag, or do you bring like a jar of them?
They're usually in a jar.
And is that something that you have to eat with something else, or is it just you
Oh
pop
no,
them,
down the
pop them like
hatch.
candy?
Oh yeah, that's how. On the
Because
go.
I know quail eggs are really little,
Mm-hmm.
but pickled quail eggs, that is an absolute first on the podcast.
Well, I
This
noticed that you registered
question,
for the master class, so I'm gonna bring you a jar to try when you're there.
okay, yeah, this question gets a lot of duplicate answers. You know, a lot of beef jerky, a lot of PB and J. Surprisingly enough, a lot of bananas, a lot of
Oh,
fruit in general. But that's the first. That is absolutely the most unique answer I've ever gotten.
I'll take it. I'll wear that badge of honor.
Pickled quail eggs. Yeah, I'll have to. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to incorporate that into some merch or something. Um, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that opportunity.
All right. That I've got to kind of regroup here and figure out where I'm at. All right. So I don't need GPS coordinates or secret spots, but what's your favorite body of water to fish?
For bass, I would say Jordan Lake because it humbles you. And there's also the biggest bass I've ever seen in there. So you can have your worst day there and you can have your absolute best day there. So I'd say Jordan Lake in North Carolina. And then if I was in Pennsylvania, there's the small stream behind our camp. That's our little honey hole.
For sure. All right. Your favorite lure to throw?
Moving bait, I would say a spinner bait. And
Willow or
then,
Colorado?
I like a willow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm trying to power fish, I like to flip a creature bait.
Okay. Do you have a favorite creature bait that you're willing to disclose?
D-bomb.
Yeah, I'll 100% get behind you on that. I do love the missile bait D-bomb and the super bug
Yeah.
color. It
Yep.
doesn't get better than that. I love the super bug color because it doesn't matter where I'm fishing. Like it's the perfect color for it.
Yep.
Yep.
I agree.
That's the first creature bait that I really, really, really got confidence in. I mean, other than a brush hog, but yeah. All right, let's see. I think we are at last but not least, your favorite time of year to throw, or your favorite time of year to fish.
I love fall fishing. I'm not built for the hot weather.
Same. Yeah, I was wearing my Carolina Waters hooded performance shirt Sunday, and I got, whenever on the groups that I posted in, I got a lot of, is it cold there or something? I was like, whenever I got on the water, the air temperature was 99 and the water temperature was 93. No, it is not
No,
cold.
definitely not.
Um, yeah, I always joke that God designed me for Siberia, and I slipped out of his fingers in eastern North Carolina. Um, but yeah, it's the struggle is real in the summertime. So uh, in the fall, what is it about the fall other than the weather that makes it your favorite? Because I mean, I hate the weather in the summertime, but I do fish pretty well in the summertime most of the time. So I enjoy fishing in the summertime. But what is it about the fall that makes it your favorite?
Other than the weather, I just like the way that the lake, well, I'm just gonna say Jordan Lake. I just like the way that Jordan Lake fishes that time of year. hmm
Absolutely.
Did
All
you
right.
say you prefer to fish in the summertime?
I I fish year round. I don't. I mean, summer is. I've fallen in love with summertime here lately because it tends to, on small lakes, I should say.
Mhm.
I like fishing in summertime on small lakes. On bigger lakes, I do like the fall because the bass do push up shallow, and I'm a shallow water fisherman. I like to go up into the creeks and stuff. But in creeks and small lakes, I love the summertime because it cranking and dragging a worm, and
And that's
all
not my
I'm
strong suit. Like I can't. I need to get better at deeper water, offshore spots, um, throwing more crankbaits, slowing down. Man, I love to fish brush up shallow and spinner baits on, you know, fallen trees.
right. And also, just because of the way my life is right now, I fish a lot at sunset during the summertime, and I can't do that any other time of year,
Yeah, you
because
get
the
that
days aren't
extra
long
time
enough.
in the summer.
So that's another reason that I enjoy the summertime, is because that's the time that I get to spend the most time on the water, and ergo, that's the time I'm most proficient. Um, so it's all about time on the water. That's what it boils
That's right.
back down to, no matter what kind of fishing you're doing. But we're getting ready to start wrapping up. If you wouldn't mind, let us know what is coming up next for Chelsea. Anything that you can tell us about what's coming up next for Cashion. Give us the lowdown.
All right, so what's coming down the pipe for Cashion? Keep an eye out late fall for our Salt Finesse release of the Icon series. There's going to be a spinning and a casting for that. We ramped it up for iCast. We're in the production stages, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Obviously, the Kayak Master Class in September, and then December we're going to be doing a customer appreciation day. That's going to be December 2nd coming up for Cashion. Big community event. So if you're not following us on all of our social media channels, follow us at Cashion Rods, and we'll spread the news that way. For
Absolutely.
me, I don't know, whatever God puts in front of me.
For sure. And let everybody know where, if they want to follow you, if they want to follow Cashion, um, plug socials, YouTube, website, all of that good stuff.
I will tell you, my social media channel is very boring because I spend 99% of my time on Cashions. Um, but you can, I see, I even have to look up what my name is. C_Woofy on Instagram, and Chelsea Woofy Shandrick on Facebook. And then obviously for Cashion, at Cashion Rods. Definitely give us a follow.
Absolutely. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to plug any sponsors, supporters, anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to. The floor is yours.
Sure. Well, I want to thank you guys, of course. And when Robert comes back, please thank him on my behalf as well. Huge supporter of Missile Baits, huge supporter of One Cast Fishing and the One Cast podcast. Obviously, Cashion Rods. And yeah, maybe I'll work with some other companies in the future. So that's what we got for now.
Awesome. Well, Chelsea, thank you so much for coming on the show. I am sorry that you came on one that was just so chaotic and all over the place. But
That's how I like it. I'm used to that.
We have enjoyed having you on for sure.
It's been a joy. Thank you for having me.
If finesse fishing is your comfort zone, something you want to learn better this year, or just something you like to tie on as a Hail Mary pass, Jade's Jigs has everything you need and more, and it's all eco-friendly and lead-free. With an awesome selection of baits and colors, they've got a variety of techniques covered for you. Finesse jigs, underspins, Nico weights, Ned rigs, and more are all waiting for you at jadesjigs.com. And while you're there, use promo code FNF10 for 10% off your purchase. That's jadesjigs.com and promo code FNF10 for 10% off. Mr. B Lure Company is making high-quality handcrafted lures and has been for 30 years, right here in the U.S. Using all-metal components, Owner and Gamakatsu hooks, and silicone or frog hair skirts, Mr. B is pumping out some awesome spinner baits, jigs, buzz baits, underspins, and more, including some of the most unique bladed jigs on the market. To fill up your tackle box, go to MrBLureCompany.com, that's MRBLureCompany.com, and use promo code FaithandFishingPod1X10 at checkout to save 10% on your first order. That's Faith the letter N, Fish the letter N, P-O-D, so Faith and Fishing Pod, just like our Instagram handle, 1X10. Another huge thank you to Chelsea for coming on the show, sharing her story with us, and kind of geeking out over some stuff and enjoying talking about Cashion Rods. If you want to follow Cashion Rods, I'll definitely encourage that, and I will leave links in the show notes as well as Chelsea's stuff, and I'll even throw in Pete's stuff as well. But yeah, we'll put that in the show notes, so make sure you go check that out. So we are going to kind of wrap this one up. Robert has had to step out. He's going through an area with very little signal on his journey back from the coast. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to pray and close this one out. So God, thank you so much for this podcast and for giving us the opportunity to just kind of share you with the fishing community and give anglers from all over the place and all different walks of life an opportunity to share what it is they believe in and to give you an opportunity to put on a show in the fishing community. Pray that you continue to put on a show in Chelsea's life and through her and her ministry with Cashion Rods, and pray that you continue to bless Cashion and Chelsea and her family. And thank you for what she brings to this community. Thank you for what she means to so many people, and for the way that you are working in and through her. God, it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, that's going to do it for this episode, y'all. Y'all take care, and God bless. Thank you for listening to the Faith and Fishing podcast. Faith and Fishing is produced and hosted by Cam Steele and Robert Randolph, and is sponsored by Savior Outdoors, Jay's Jigs, Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, Mr. B Lure Company, Atollas, and Omnia Fishing. Don't forget to join the Facebook community, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe, rate, and review us on whatever app you're listening on. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless.